welcome to this week's I Would Agree. Thank you for joining us once again. And this week's guest, I kind of alluded to last week. A few weeks ago, we had Owen McCoy, who's incidentally, when I announce who this is, Owen's is one of the most watched shows of all time, which is very, very interesting. And I think speaks to the culture within the business. So I went one step further and I've invited Owen's CEO, Roseann, to the show. Roseann,
Hi.
welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here. It's no surprise that Owens was one of the most watched because he's just amazing.
Yeah, he set our YouTube channel on fire. It's fantastic. Yeah, and you know what? And I think in a day and age where agent retention and churn and all the things that go with that, combined with, and we're all sick to death of talking about hybrid and remote, but it's still very much an important consideration that everybody's having. I think we're just past talking about it pretty much. Owen's passion really spoke to a lot of people, like it did to me. I've very rarely met anybody that kind of competes with the level of enthusiasm that Owen has for delivering. It's not just about delivering the training with Owen, which is I think the real differentiator is genuine passion for people.
Yeah.
But I guess that comes from all the way from the top. When I've seen that work with businesses, then that's a culture that's instilled in the business, and it's something that's encouraged and kind of bred into people as they join the business and as they move forward. So before we get into any of that, though, I'd love for you to kind of digress a little bit. And as I ask everybody who joins the show, what's the story of how you got involved with contact centers in the first place, Roseann?
So many, many years ago, I can't believe it's been probably 30 years.
Wow.
Maybe more. I started as an agent. I think we called ourselves telephone secretaries. In a small answering service in a little town in Connecticut. My kids were little, and it was just like, the hours were good and it was kind of fun. We answered for a paging company. So, you'd hear people and you'd get to know them, and it was just a fun thing. But the owner of the business, strategically, grew the business, and we became a large contact center, and eventually the business sold. And as with all contact centers, where there's growth, there's massive opportunity for progression, right? So I worked my way up the ladder, and, became very marketable. And I eventually left that call center, we were called back then, and moved into the hospitality industry. And that took me, it's still in customer service, of course. And that sort of took me, into a global space where I've managed a group on the US side and one in London. And, I just learned so much. But I kept in contact with the people who were then my client, and that's the Agora companies. Mm-hmm. And eventually the commute from Connecticut to New York became just ridiculous. I would wake up in the morning, I'd sleep in my gym clothes and take an early train into the city. And, it was just nightmarish. And so, so my clients, the Agora companies, hired me. And I opened TCC, and not even 3 years later, the owner of the Agora companies, Phil Bonner, he said, well, I think, Ireland would be a good place for a call center. And being a very, very smart man, I said, okay, let's see. And it was a great move. And so about 3 years later, we opened Emerald Contact Center, thinking I would start with 10 people, and never, I rented this little space off Forest Road, up in the rafters of a building. And I said, I only need 10 people, no more, never going to grow. And, a year later, we had moved probably twice, and now we're in Confederation House, a massive, 300 seat center. So
fantastic story and lots of growth in there. And it's nice for me to have you on the show, Roseann, because I've interviewed quite a few CEOs from outsourcers and BPOs, and to a T, they've all been males. So it's really, really nice to have, to have a little bit of diversity in the show, a little bit of equality there. Question for you in that time then, because obviously you've worked through that environment, you've climbed that ladder. Did you find that being a woman made it harder for you to do that?
It didn't make it harder for me to progress, but that like imposter syndrome,
Mm-hmm.
I held myself back from things like salary and opportunities that I thought that I had to come to the table and pitch myself, right, and ask for a salary. So that kind of imposter syndrome, but it never felt about male or female. It was all me.
Yeah,
so
fantastic to hear. I mean, yeah, and I could kind of sympathize with elements of that, because like I've never I just think some people genuinely are a lot more direct and a lot more self promoting. Not necessarily in a bad way, but they're a lot more confident about what they can and should ask for, and it doesn't make for everyone. But you're kind of proof that you don't necessarily need to be one of those extreme go-getters that just ask for everything outdoor to make it to that level. So fantastic story.
I mean, now I would. Don't get me wrong.
The change in that experience, right?
Right. That's the culmination of 30 years of experience.
If you don't mind me asking, and it's not something I've asked before, but what are those medals for in the background? There's a lot of medals.
They're races, running.
Fantastic. Yourself?
Myself, yeah.
Wow, fantastic.
Yeah, and you probably can't see, but in the middle, in 2019, I ran the New York City Marathon.
Wow.
So that's,
gold standard, right?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
So now I don't have to run it all. It's done.
And that's it. And we're done now. We're peaked. Yeah, I get it. I've actually committed to doing the UK International 3 Peaks Challenge again next year for a friend of mine, from my best man's friend. I did it probably about 2-3 years ago, and I was relatively fit at the time because I didn't have a desk-based job, and it broke me. And now I do have a desk-based job and I work from home, and I don't really do as much exercise as I should. I'm not relishing the idea of what state I'll be in, or even if I'll finish it this time around. But let's go for it and see what happens.
You'll finish it. It'll be great.
I will, even if my friend has to carry me over the, then he might well carry me. To be fair. So fantastic. I mean, obviously we spoke with Owen a couple of weeks ago, and we were kind of saying in the pre-show element there that it's clear that the passion that we saw in that episode came from the top. So what's your strategy around your people? What sets you and TCC, ACC apart from your competition, I guess?
I think it's that we set a really high bar. We really do. And we hire people. One of our core foundational core values is personal accountability. So we hire people who are self-aware and exhibit that personal accountability. And that's kind of where, that's where TMAC comes in, because that helps us like working towards our vision of sugar plums. I always use that term, it's probably very corny. But where we have a group of self-motivated, self-aware people who want to go in and see how they're doing, right? It's that ultimate transparency. Hey, I'm going to check that every day, see if I have a new score, see if there's a new comment, and I'm going to fix it. I'm going to adjust, or, oh, look at me go. I got all those hundreds and all those kudos. Go me. So it's that. It's the high bar, the coaching. We've built our organization around coaching, and we coach to our clients' vision of sugar plums. But beyond that too, we we manage and make decisions using data. Like, I don't think anybody in their right mind in my organization would come to me and propose something without having like at least 3 spreadsheets, to back it up.
Yep.
And that
We'll tell the same story, right?
yeah. But that, then now I just sound like a big commercial, but that's where TMAC helps too, because there's no back and forth, right? It's you've got right here. Here's what you need to work on. There can't be, I never heard that before. Nobody ever told me that, which you hear pretty much daily. So it really helps get us to the vision of Sugar Plums. But the strategy is set a high bar, hold people to it, and you end up with the people who want to, are on board and work towards the same end goal.
So do you find that your teams can be quite competitive with each other then, or is it kind of self-competition, or is it a bit of both maybe? Does it get unhealthy at times?
No, it never has, luckily. And it never has. I think self-competition, competing with yourself, kind of like in running, that's where you want to be, right? And like we just fired up about 30 seats in the Philippines. And I'm really pleased with that. But the way I always call it like a people puddle, but I'm starting to try and call it a people party. Everybody's working towards the same goal. So you might get coached. You might be an agent and get coached by a supervisor in Ireland or vice versa. And now you might get coached by someone in the Philippines. And people want the same outcome. They want our clients to be happy. They want to do a good job. So yeah, it's really, I think, people just wanting to do their best. No, we don't really have that competition between teams.
It's good to see because I think there's a lot of businesses. I've seen a lot of businesses, and I've been heavily involved in retail for most of my career. Like retail can be super competitive and it's almost promoted. And it's great when that's going to plan, but eventually the animosity starts to show and it's not quite as healthy as we all anticipated it would be. So it's great for getting there, but like you've got to be very careful about the boundaries on that. But I think to your point earlier on, self-awareness is something that I guess not everybody has or doesn't have to a sufficient level.
Yeah.
Do you find that means that your contact center agents are generally of an older demographic then? Because I find that a lot of younger people, there's like, it takes a lot of practice and experience sometimes to bring out your own self-awareness. Not everybody's born with that ability.
Yeah, I think so the demographic is very different from the States to Ireland. And I'm just learning in the Philippines, like the Philippines was just a thought at like May 26th, and we're live now. We've got like 20 people live. So I'm just learning that, but yeah, a little bit older, but
mostly just wiser, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting because, I've seen some very self-aware young people who are very driven and were clearly going places. And I tend to find that they're actually quite hard to keep hold of because they know what they've got. And
yeah,
they're not unmodest, but they're very clear about what they want to do and they know how they want to get there. And they've got a career path kind of already laid out for themselves. Whereas I tend to find when you get to sort of more mature people, I'm not going to say older, but like more mature people who've they've done a few different jobs in a few different industries, they're starting to come to that self-awareness that age brings with, or an experience brings with. And it's a very different kind of self-awareness.
It really is. And I think that the younger demographic, in those scenarios that you just spoke about, that's why we're in the position today where people are, I'll use the term job hopping, because they come in, they are bright and motivated and they know it. And if you don't give them a raise or a promotion in, 30 seconds, peace out.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And I think that's, like, I often pose this conversation with people we spend a lot of time talking about agent retention and agent churn within. And part of me wonders, not on every occasion, but sometimes I see businesses putting a lot of money into agent retention measures, but actually I think they're just throwing that money down the drain because a lot of those people are probably going to leave anyway. And it's more or less, and I guess this is where I think you guys could probably get it right, is it's about investing in them for that period of time when they are with you so that potentially they might return or at least be best suited to represent you in the next career and carry good word of mouth wherever they go, rather than be disgruntled that they left you. And I think that's a big difference, right?
Yeah. And I think, those people who hone their skills or, acquire new skills working for us and move on and are happy and successful, those to me are like the moments, right? That where you go, wow, we did good. Yes, they're not with us. And it's always bittersweet. But to be able to see people just really, when TCC first opened, I remember there was one person who I found out didn't really have a home. She was sleeping at friends and we said, okay, come on, we're going to help you out, put you up in a hotel, but you'll pay us back when you get on your feet. She was around for several years, probably 5 or 6 years, maybe more. But, then she got a car and a great apartment and she's just killing life right now. Super happy. And, I
think that's part of life, right? Is like, I think especially when you get to a leadership position, it's having that opportunity to take chances on the right people.
Right. For sure.
You've got to be careful where you take the chances, but when they work out. Yeah. I told this story a couple of years back when I first joined the business, but I took on a cashier, a customer assistant, whatever you want to call them, in my last store position. And the guy he'd been homeless. The 2 jobs that he'd had before, he'd had a promising career ahead of him, but the business had gone into administration both times. He was ex-army and he'd left the army and come back. He didn't have a home to go to. So he kind of bumbled around for a bit. And he was still only a young kid. He was still only like 22, 23, something like that. And when I interviewed him, he wasn't the strongest interview. He was very quiet. He was very shy. He was very he was just inside himself. Like, it was very hard to get a response out of him, but there was something there. And I kind of said at the time, like, this is either going to really work out or it's going to be the worst decision I've made in my life. But we took him on, and 2 weeks, I'm not going to lie, Roseann, they were awful. And I genuinely thought I'd made a big mistake. I was having to explain to him how to use a pallet truck, which, most people wouldn't be able to use a pallet truck, to be fair. But considering he come from a retail, done retail work before, I was a bit, I had to explain real basics to him. But you know what? He was the sort of kid that once I explained something once to him, it stuck. And he never asked again, and he never got it wrong again. And everything he did just made him one step better and better and better until he was literally the rock that kept that store together. What a fantastic guy. And I even had people, when it came to Christmas time, he didn't have any family living local or anything like that. And the team would literally fight over who was going to get him for Christmas dinner that year.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. So yeah, it is very much about taking those chances. And I think it's nice that you're the sort of business that is willing to think outside the box. There's a lot of businesses kind of stuck in their processes and their thinking and HR and what they can and can't do. Ultimately, what we want as a business, ultimately, with enough.
Yeah, 100%. You need that data, but there's a book, I wish I could remember the author, Bring Your Human to Work. And so, you have to really make decisions using the data, but you also have to remember that we're human, they're human, and, that has to play into the formula, right? The formula for success.
Yeah, no, that's right. That's right. And I think that's, ultimately that's why we've enjoyed working with you guys, is that we set out very much to make a difference to people. Like, there's a lot of tech companies out there, and I'm not disparaging to anyone else. Everybody's got their own way of doing things, but there's a lot of tech companies out there that are tech for the sake of tech. They're a shiny bit of tin. They've got some great cool features, but we acknowledge from the beginning that contact center specifically is a people business, and it's always going to be a people business. You talk about AI and automation kind of taking jobs away. It just helps make people get back to what they do best, which is the human element. And I've got that link for the book, Roseann. I'll put that up on the LinkedIn comments for everyone to kind of have a look at. But yeah, I think that's kind of what drew us together, was that there was that common theme that you guys wanted to enable your people and empower them through transparency, through data, through what you were doing.
Yeah.
And that's always what we've aimed for, is making that difference. It's been fantastic to see the transformation you guys have had.
Yeah.
And good to see that it's working out from your side of things too, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So what's on the horizon for you guys this year then? Because you're expanding again, right? So you've just mentioned that you come to 30 seats in the Philippines.
Yeah.
What's the goals for this year, Roseann?
It's funny because I was just in I went to the public library for a day, just that one day this week, to do with like the 5-year planning. It's focusing on that expansion, first of all, to the Philippines, but that is because it takes us, 24/7, and it gets us, hopefully, will become more marketable to acquire new clients. And I think, one of the big goals is that I'd love to get one nice, nonprofit piece of business within the next couple of years. Yeah, I like something feel good, something that people can say, oh yeah, we work for, I shouldn't insert something.
Insert charity here. Yeah. Yeah, I know. I can hear what you're saying. Yeah, no, and I can understand why. That's interesting.
But for now, I think we're focusing on, like everybody else, recovery, and still, figuring it out. Like, we don't know. We're still hybrid in both Emerald and TCC. In the Philippines, Digimatics is fully in office. But I miss being able to connect. Like, I can't walk through the office and say hi to people. I'll be in Ireland next week, so I can, because they have a good few people in the office. But I can't connect with ambassadors the way I used to. I could walk through the center and say, hey, how's it going? And you can see, or hear in someone's reaction whether it's not going good, and we should, want to ask and maybe help. Maybe it's not work related. Maybe it is. And that element is gone.
Yeah, and I think that's something kind of Owen mentioned early stages when we were talking together, was that thought that, like, you see somebody's performance dip, the tendency is to go, do you know what, your performance has dipped, you maybe want to fix this skill or this metric or whatever. But actually, having technology to kind of highlight that, sometimes it just means that you can take that step back and ask, is this a downward trend in performance, or is it a sudden drop that might indicate something else? And maybe we should be asking the personal questions first that kind of make a lot of coaches and a lot of leaders uncomfortable, because it almost feels like you're prying. But, in a day and age where mental health is such a big, big picture and such a big part of what people are doing, is it maybe the case that now is the time to start asking twice before we start talking about metrics, But I think you're right. I think there's something missing in the communication sphere. I'm giving people 3 ideas here. If everybody wants to come up with what's next, I'm looking at you. But like Teams, isn't it? Like, Teams is great. It's got a function. It serves a purpose. WhatsApp's great. It serves a purpose. Insert other tools here. They're all great, but nothing so far that I've found kind of replicates that in-person experience. And I think we can get closer to that. I don't think you can ever replicate it, but I think there's probably something coming that will help replicate that a little bit better than what we can do.
I'm sure there will be.
We talked about, I know you guys have had a big part of your history has been around the print industry and service and things like that. Are there any particular industries that you're now looking to move into, or is it just kind of excel at what you do and see what comes your way?
Yeah, I think right now we're just trying to, like you said, we always strive to be the best options for our clients. And, we want to support their financial goals now, now more than ever, right? Because everybody's paying attention to every penny. So, Owen and his team are working hard on how we can do that through various efforts, retention and things like that. But no, really, other than the nonprofit or something feel good. But we have to get all our ducks in a row and be able to say, yes, we are 24/7 excellence around the clock. And we have to figure out a way to market ourselves. We don't do any marketing.
Well, I think there's a time and a place for marketing, and I don't think it's. I guess it depends on the brand and how you represent yourselves. But I always see you guys doing quite well for yourselves in terms of the outreach that I see on LinkedIn and the message that comes across from you guys. You've got a strong brand, and you're clearly very people-oriented business. I think. For me, I can't wait to see where you guys take this next. There's a lot of bright signs on the horizon, and I think you're right. For a business where your employees feel part of the picture and feel the pain of the clients they're working with when things are going wrong, and can help be a part of the solution that client's looking for. You're right. In the current economic climate, businesses can't afford to be with an outsourced partner that doesn't take that very, very seriously. And unfortunately, a lot of businesses take it seriously at a senior leadership level, but it doesn't quite filter down to the agent level, because the agents are still kind of feeling quite disgruntled and not looked after and what have you. So I've spoken to quite a few passionate outsourcers at the moment, and it looks like things are going the right way, but I can see you guys doing very well with that aspect of things in terms of driving that buy-in.
And our clients play a big part in that because, well, pre-Rona, our clients were out to the center, some every week, others monthly or biweekly. And now it's via Zoom or Skype or whatever, Teams. But, you have to, that's really massive when you're because you're working for people work for people.
Yeah.
And so it's not just, the people internally saying, here's our goal and here's why. You've got the client coming in and saying, hey, here's where we are. Here's what I need you to help me with. Here's how we can do it. And our clients, actually, we have clients who hire from their teams, and upward mobility there for the escalations and tier 2 and tier 3. So.
Yeah, it's interesting. I guess I hadn't really spent a lot of time thinking about that in terms of, we talk about agent sort of hybrid and agent remote work and stuff like that. But you guys being close to your clients, it's obviously had a big impact. Is that something that's kind of returning now? Do you see clients much more interested in coming back into the offices, or is that kind of, is that 50-50 as well?
That's about 50-50 too. But, there we have the US and we have no agents in the building currently. They're all remote. So it would, it's just.
Well, Roseann, it's top of the half hour, so I'm going to draw a line under it there. But it's been fantastic to chat, and I can see from the comments on the page, there's not so many questions, but there's been a lot of support from the followers on LinkedIn, especially. So thank you to everybody who's come along and watched the show. Roseann, you'll be semi-famous for the next 2 or 3 months with all the clips going out from all the pages. So look forward to that. And absolutely, we'll have to have you back on the show again in a few months' time, so we can hear about how you've gotten on over the next few months.
Excellent. I look forward to it.
Thanks for joining us. And okay, take care, everyone. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
All right.